Dear students, I hope this video finds you well. I hope that you're having a good time in your house. Not being able to leave, but enjoying as much as you can with your family. For this week, the lesson will have to do with the pre-reading strategies we can use for activating prior knowledge. In a moment, we'll see what prior knowledge is about. First, let's read this passage. It says, according to Kindly Beer's author of When Kids Can Read, What Teachers Can Do, one of the biggest problems that we face when teaching or when reading as learners is how to get ourselves or how to get our students think about the selection or the passage that they will read. When you are about to read a text, it's difficult for you to think about um, knowledge that's surrounding the text or the passage. And how do you do that? How you can activate prior knowledge? How do you do it? Well, in this chart, we can see that, for example, we have three columns. One is the competent readers, then we have the competent teachers, and the tools that we can use for doing certain activities. Um, Competent readers, what do? They try to activate prior knowledge. So, what is prior knowledge? Prior knowledge is the previous knowledge that you had or that you have about the topic that you read about. So, uh, when you activate this prior knowledge, it promotes comprehension and allows the student to make meaningful connections between the text. Okay? And what can we do as competent teachers? We can determine the background knowledge that's needed for students to fully understand the text. How can we do it? We can do it by using different tools, like, for example, let me show you here. We have the anticipation guides, the KW chart, um, a probable passage. We are going to be analyzing some of these techniques in this course. It's also important as competent readers to take into account some elements that you can find in the passage. For example, the introduction, the headings, subheadings, etc. Here in this picture or chart, we find we have an acronym that's called thieves. What does it mean? It's a metaphor that means uh, being able to steal knowledge or information from a text. And how do you do it? Just by paying attention to the title, headings, the introduction or the introductory paragraph that gives you a general idea of what you'll read. You can also list everything that you really know about the topic. You can use graphic organizers. We really know about graphic organizers, and you can also pay attention to visuals, vocabulary. Um, it's also important to scan the end of the article or of the passage, the selection. Why? Because likewise, the introductory paragraph, you can also have a summary or like compilation of the information that the article is about. Finally, you have the S, which means so what, and has to do with the purpose or the main objective the author had when he wrote the text, when he or she wrote the text. Okay, so it's important to pay attention to those things. And what I just said also has to do with the main objective or with the purpose of the writer. So it is important to establish a purpose for reading. Mhm. So why are you reading? Let me see, or let me show you. It suggests reading purposes to readers. Um, it guides students in determining and recording purposes, and it creates opportunities for readers to communicate reading purposes to partners or team members. How can we do this? We can do it by um, using tools such as, for example, the KWL, which is the technique that we'll be analyzing today. Okay, so let's read the definition for prior knowledge. Prior knowledge is the knowledge the learner already has before they meet new information. A learner's understanding of a text can be improved by activating prior knowledge before going into a text. And developing this skill is a good training for you as learners, and in the future for you as teachers. They give us an example here that has to do with dolphins, a passage about dolphins. And if you want to read about dolphins, how do you do it? You do it by thinking about dolphins. What do they do? Where they live? What type of activities they do? Are they mammals? Are they fish? Um, what do they eat? Okay, so maybe you can brainstorm ideas or words or vocabulary related to dolphins, and in that sense, even though you already know the information, you can get a sense of better understanding or preparation before you go into reading the text. Obviously, you never do this with all text that you read, but unconsciously you're trying to think of, okay, I'm gonna read this, and you somehow activate that previous knowledge that you may have about the text. What can we do in the classroom with it? We can make predictions about content, we can answer true or false questions, and we can get to agreements. We can make agreements about the information or that previous information. Um, how can we do it? We can do it by using a technique which is called the KWL or KWL plus chart. The KWL plus chart is a variation of the original technique which is called KWL. What does it have to do? It's very easy. The purpose is to bring students prior knowledge about the topic, and it's divided into three main components. The first one is what I know, then we have what I want to know, and finally what I learned. So, how do you do it? First, you brainstorm in the first column what I know, all the information that you know about the topic. For example, if we read about dolphins, if we are going to read about dolphins, we can list here. Okay, they are mammals. They live in the water. They don't live in rivers, or maybe they live in rivers and in oceans. They eat all the fish, or they eat fish because they are not fish. They are gray or they are blue, right? All the information that you think you know about the topic. Then you write what you want to know. Okay, are they mammals or are they fish? Do they live in packs or schools, or do they live in or they do they act individually? So here you write a list of questions that you or the things that you want to know or explore more about the topic. So then you go and read the text, and once you've read the text, you can complete the third column, which is what I learned, what has been my understanding of the text, what things I thought at first that were one way and now they are different. Okay, so this is like the conclusion, my understanding, my final conceptions about what I read. Okay, so this is the KW chart. Um, I'll give an example. It says this chart is about rattlesnakes. So you have know, want to know, and learned. You can see all the different characteristics about rattlesnakes. They're poisonous, they live in deserts, they live in holes, etc. And you classified these I'm sorry, these characteristics. For example, D stands for how the description, okay? Poisonous has to do with abilities. I'm sorry, yes, abilities, um, etc. Diamondback is one type. D, that has to do with the description. Then you read, I'm sorry, you make questions about what you want to learn about rattlesnakes. You read, and then you write down things that you learned about rattlesnakes. And then again, you make a classification, or you write a classification of the different characteristics about snakes. Okay, so that's what we call categories. The categories here are where they live, location, what they do or what they can do, their abilities, the description of how they look and how they can affect people. Eh, so, so based on this technique, the KWL, I want you to read a text which is called Addicted to Work. I'm going to upload it to Google Classroom. You read it, then you can read this. This is the before reading activities for activating prior knowledge, and I want you to upload to Google Classroom a sheet in which you create a KWL chart on the reading. Okay, so this is for you to get used to the or to get familiar with the reading to activate that prior knowledge. But besides that, I also want you to create a KWL chart that you will upload to Google Classroom. I'll just write the instructions in a minute. Okay? And but you don't have to do this. I mean, you do this, but you don't have to upload it to Google Classroom. Only the second section, which is the after you read, that equals or compares to a learned, the column, the third column in the KWL chart. Okay? So, what is it about? It asks you how much did you understand? So, you have to complete this information. You do the text analysis questions, you answer them, and then a close reading that has to do with vocabulary. Here it says vocabulary. See the appendix pages 205 2009. But I'm not going to give you those pages because I want you to go and explore about suffixes and prefixes. What are those and how you can understand a word, a word's meaning by looking closely or examining closely at the prefix or suffix it may have. Uh, okay, so I repeat, the idea is to create a KWL chart about a topic. In this case, the topic is addicted to work. That is the title of the text. These are some questions that you have there for activating prior knowledge, but you don't have to answer them in the homework. In the homework, I want you to read the text, create a KWL chart, and answer the after you read questions, which are all of these. Okay, but I will explain that in detail in the description of the assignment number 2, right? Which has to do with activating prior knowledge through a KWL chart. Okay. Okay, I hope you understood this information. I think it is crystal clear. The idea is to activate prior knowledge by using a technique in the classroom which is called KWL chart and read a text about addiction to work. Okay, so thank you for watching this video and I hope you're well. We'll meet on Wednesday. We'll try to meet on Wednesday and I hope you are fine by that time. Okay. Thank you.